Hello and welcome to the RPG Rundown. I'm Seth, and from dungeons to deep space, we've got the systems and stories for your table. Welcome to Season 5 of the RPG Rundown. We are on episode 31, and today, as you may notice, I am flying solo. Jeff had an event that conflicted with our normal recording schedule, but fear not, I have an exciting episode today as we take an inside look at Drakonym, the dragon bonding TTRPG from our friends at Crossed Paths. You may remember them as the UK-based developer of the Winnie the Pooh RPG that we didn't know we needed, but we absolutely loved. Brambletrek, Tales from the Hundred Acre Woods. Now, Crossed Paths graciously reached out to us about previewing their newest TTRPG, and as fans of dragons, we of course said yes. Now, I've always enjoyed the concept of befriending a dragon. As I grew up, and even as an adult, read books like Jeremy Thatcher Dragon Hatcher by Bruce Colville, The Dragonriders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey, Eragon by Christopher Paolini, and the Temeraire series by Naomi Novak, as well as watched movies with various dragons like Dragonheart and How to Train Your Dragons. Drakonym promises everything you need to fulfill your dragon friend dreams. Now, if you didn't catch our last episode, Drakonym is currently live on Backerkit with over 1,900 backers and approximately $330,000, 541, somewhere in there. As I try to quickly convert US dollars from pounds, they are currently sitting at 246,000 pounds and 1924 backers. There's about 3 days left at time of recording. Once this episode comes out, there should be about a day and a half left. So after checking out our inside peek, you definitely want to go over to Backerkit from the link in our description and give it some support. If you like dragons at all, you should definitely check it out. Now, our friends at Crossed Paths sent us alpha documents of the core rules, the Herald's Guide, or GM's Guide, and the solo rules, which we'll talk about later. But they also sent us a whole bunch of artwork as well, which we will show off on the YouTube recording of this. So if you are listening, definitely go out and check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@therpgrundownltn. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe so you know when these episodes go live. And but if you are listening, I'll try to do my best to give descriptions to follow along. But what we're going to do today is kind of similar to our critical review format. We are going to take an inside peek at this upcoming TTRPG, Drakonym. And P.E.A.K is another acronym that I'm going to explain to you all. So P.E.A.K stands for Premise, Engine, Atmosphere, and Key Features. So we're going to take an inside peek at the Drakonym core rules and system, and then talk a little bit more about the Backerkit campaign and why you should definitely back it. So let's get started, shall we? So starting with P in our P.E.A.K system, we're going to start with the premise, and switching over in the presentation to the core rulebook, the alpha core rulebook, we're going to take a look at just a few things. This is a fantastic book. And like I said, there's 3 books that you're actually going to get access to if you back their crowdfunding campaign. You'll get the core rules, the solo rulebook, and the Herald's Guide, along with some adventures and stuff like that. You can actually go and download a free character creation demo, and you can also watch the recording that I did of going through that free character creation demo. There'll be a link in the video. But let's talk about Drakonym. Drakonym is set in the realm of Akaroth. It is a world that is still healing from a cataclysmic event called the Dragonfall that shattered the bond between dragons and mortals. Now, in the age of conflux, dragon's eggs stir in forgotten ruins, and players step into the role of heroes who forge sacred emotional bonds with these legendary dragons. It's not just slaying monsters and looting dungeons, it's about trust, growth, and the consequences of connections. Your dragon isn't a tool or a mount. It is a co-protagonist, and that's what sets Drakonym apart. Now moving on to the E in our P.E.A.K system, which is the engine or the overview of mechanics, the dice system, the character creation, the encounters, the combat. Let's talk about that and what makes this TTRPG system different. Drakonym is built for narrative-first play, but it doesn't skimp on the tactical side either. So, as we kind of skim through here on the core rulebook, first of all, the artwork is fantastic. There are, kind of your standard TTRPG systems of different attributes that you define with your character. But really, looking at the gameplay and the core rules, Drakonym uses a D6 dice pool system, but is augmented by the optional shadow die, which is a D12. This is a risk-reward die that the players can use when they fail a narrative check. Note the emphasis on narrative checks here, as it's generally not used when pushing forward a failed combat or spell check, though it is always up to the Herald or GM to make that call. Use the shadow die, or using it has its costs, or can. However, whenever you use it, it does give the Herald a shadow mark, similar to Daggerheart's fear tokens, if you will. So anytime it's used, you automatically give the Herald one of those. However, you could give them more shadow marks or not, depending on how you roll the shadow die. So that is the main way that you do spell checks and ability checks, is with that D6 dice pool system. You succeed on a 5 or a 6, 6 being 2 successes, a 5 being 1 success, and 6 also kind of represents a if you roll 2 6s, that is a critical success. So there, of course, is the handy chart that I'm showing on the screen as well, to kind of let you know what constitutes a failure, what constitutes maybe a success. But if you have 2 1s, you could have like a setback as well. Or like I said, a critical success. Now, combat and ability checks are run pretty similarly. And combat uses a simple wound system that's very similar to Daggerheart, with thresholds we'll talk about in just a moment. But the essence of attacking or casting a spell or doing a narrative check are all the same, in that you choose one of your abilities and you combine it with a second ability. So there's not skills like the long list of skills to be proficient in. What you do is you just select 2 of your attributes and use those to make any skill check. And in the moment, you can, haggle with the herald or the GM to say, hey, I think that using my shadow ability plus my primary ability is all I need to do to make a stealth check. So you have, again, an ability score similar to D&D or Daggerheart or others, and you just combine those, and that's how many dice or D6 you roll in your dice pool. Now, for attacks, all attacks have a weapon bonus, and so what you do is you take your primary attribute, which you choose whenever you are creating your character, and you add the weapon bonus to get your dice pool. Whenever you are casting a spell, very similarly, you're going to do your primary attribute and the spell bonus determined by the spell. When the herald is rolling attacks, they do not roll to attack. Instead, the player rolls a defensive skill check or ability check. And so they build their dice pool depending on their primary attribute and their armor bonus, which you can find on your character sheet as well. Enemies deal harm in the form of damage values, and then after rolling, you reduce damage equal to your armor bonus plus your primary attribute per success. After that, magic is very similar. Spells require a magical defensive check to defend against their effects. And so you would take your primary attribute plus any magic armor bonus you have. Yes, you have magic armor. And that would also determine what happens. Now, when you take damage, like I said, there is light, heavy, and deadly thresholds. Very similar, like I said, to other games that have come out recently. And so that's how you then determine how many wounds you take. So like I said, very similar to Daggerheart in that regard, whereas if it's the damage is over 12 in the heavy range, but under 18, you would mark a heavy wound. If it's below 12, you would mark a light wound, etc. So that's the combat and the ability system for Drakonym. However, the big system for Drakonym is the Dragon Bond system. The Dragon Bond is the most important thing in this system. And I say that being the most important differentiator between other TTRPG systems. It's the heart of everything you do. Your bond with your dragon companion evolves through shared story moments. You have a bond tracker that you can add to, and your dragon will grow physically and emotionally. If you, however, break that trust or do something, you'll earn discord marks and strain that bond, that relationship with your dragon. Real quick, as we look at that system, book has a fantastic section on all the different dragon types, and on not only that, but how it works with your bond. In the world of Azeroth, the legacy of dragons is part of the world. Like I said, the dragon fall was not only a fall, but in a cataclysmic event where mortals and dragons were separated. It was also kind of like one of those stories where creation and destruction were at odds with each other. And so as part of that dragon fall, and as the dragons return, there is a vow that dragons have not to turn their full power on the world again in the same way. And so that is key. It plays into it. So absolutely fantastic information on the history of dragons, the dragons of Azeroth. Basically, there is the it has biology, lifespan, and growth, and the different families of dragons, which there are 7 And I love that they have them separated in this way as opposed to like by elemental separation or by color. Instead, they have them separated by astral dragons, aura dragons, mirror dragons, moon dragons, fire dragons, shard dragons, storm dragons, and sun dragons. I love it. I love the artwork too. As you may be noticing on the YouTube video, there's some cycling through as well. But your bond begins at level 1. All players in Drakonym may start their journey with a dragon egg or a hatchling. So some heralds may prefer to have you search for your dragon later on, but it's something that generally happens around level 1. So, like I said, there's 4 stages. There's the hatchling, juvenile, mature, and elder dragon. So kind of similar to other systems, as you may surmise. But it's really cool that you get to craft your dragon along with either part of the narrative in the gameplay as you go along. And then also you can start by, like I said, kind of a session 0. There's a crafting, a character creation demo that while it is limited in its nature of a demo, you can definitely apply it and treat it as like a session 0. But yes, you get to choose it. You get to choose its heart, which is something that helps define the emotional identity of your dragon. You gain traits. You gain different abilities as your dragon grows as well. And so just taking a look at, we'll take a look at one of them, for example. And one of the most coolest looking ones is the astral dragon. We're just going to look at that one. But again, you get to choose like their temperament. You get to choose their preferred environment, you get to kind of choose their traits, choose how your bond grows with this legendary creature. There's name options, emotional roles, but yeah, absolutely. A really cool system. However, again, this is not just a tool. It's not just a mount. It's a companion. And so something we've got to talk about is the vow, because you can't treat dragons like you would in other systems. Now, a quick look at the vow, because again, this kind of determines how you play. So the Great Vow, it was before the Age of Convergence, which we are now in. And essentially it breaks down to that dragons cannot wield their full power in mortal conflict. And if they break that vow, there are heavy consequences. They can't, intervene in wars. They can't turn their breath on mortal kings, laid waste to armies. These are all things that they did before, right? In the Dragonfall. And so what happens is if they defy the vow, there could be consequences of your dragon disappearing and never returning. So you have to kind of play within the system of how your dragon aids you. It's not just a mount, it's not just a tool, but it can be a mount. It can aid you in combat through abilities or blessings, things like that. And again, it's part of your character almost, where it's your character plus your dragon companion. So you never know. There could be a situation where maybe your dragon has to intervene in order to save you. It might be something that you work out with your herald to say, yes, I think my dragon would absolutely do that. Or maybe not. And maybe, much like player death, maybe, death of a companion is something that you have to consider deeply in this system. Now, while I could go on and on and on about the dragons in Drakonym and the world of Azeroth, I have to touch on character creation and the system for crafting your rider. You choose, you have character questions you can answer about who you are but then also you choose your kin or your race. You choose your class, you choose your background, and your starting equipment. And then starting at level 3, you choose a path. A path is almost like a subclass. However, you can actually choose any of the paths, no matter what class you start with in your character creation. So there are quite a few variations on how you can do it. Not unlimited, but more than most systems will allow you to choose a very cool, create a very cool, unique character. Looking at the PDF here, obviously it starts with using a character sheet. They have one that you can absolutely use. It is very similar to others, but again, who are you, right? What kin do you choose? Which again, Drakonym has some very cool kin to choose from. They have human, of course, elf, dwarf, drakari, which are like dragonborn. There are featherborn, so bird people. There are Ferovox, which are kind of like that weasel or ferret, and they're a very cool race. There are the Gnawborn, which are mouse creatures. There are Inferni, which are the kind of have half demon, demon blood characters. There are Runebark, which are a very cool kin to choose from. And there are Arbor, which are kind of the dryads. There are the Adiphaean, which are the kind of celestials. On top of choosing your kin, there are also subkin to choose from. And so when you do that, you have different choices. For example, if you're looking at the screen, we have the Adiphaean culture. They have, certain communities, religions, art, music, values, etc. However, you get to choose a subkin, and there are the 3 to choose from, usually for each kin. Adiphaean have the Dawn Flame, radiant and warm. These Adiphaean are the embodiment of hope and renewal. Their wings blaze in soft hues of gold and pink, representing healing and inspiration. Or the Eclipse Light, with wings that burn with shades of deep violet and blue. Their presence brings a calming but commanding energy. They often are scholars, strategists, or spiritual guides. Or the Infernal Blaze. Their wings blaze a fiery red and orange. Their personalities are often bold and determined. They are warriors and champions, embodying the unyielding power of divine fire. So again, that's the kind of celestial kin to choose from. Love the artwork. Love this. Again, if you have followed my own coverage of Daggerheart, you know that I had a big problem with them choosing Seraph as a class rather than as a kin or a background. So I absolutely love it in this system. So once again, there are plenty of kin to choose from, and you are going to love looking through them. But after you do that, then you move on to the class choices. And I have to tell you, the classes, it's just such a cool and interesting take. Rather than having 10 or 12 classes, there are actually 4 classes to start off with. You start with 4 classes of either the fighter, veil, mage, or acolyte. And so those will set you on your journey to what kind of class your character is going to be. However, like I said, at level 3, you get to choose a path. And all these paths are available to you. You don't have to limit which one you choose just because you choose a different or kind of opposing class. And so it is a very cool system that leads to so many options and customizations that I think that you are just going to find it fantastic. But yes, it's absolutely incredible, the number of choices that you get within Drakonym's character creation. Now, the last system that I want to touch on is the magic system, and it is fully customizable. Yes, that is correct. Fully customizable magic system. You build spells from 6 different aspects, then layer on effects and techniques. You want to summon a spell as a cone or as a circle, you can absolutely do that. And so it is a fantastic system. And another cool thing is that along in this campaign, they are also including that they are going to release a card creator system. So not only are they going to have digital tools available, but like Daggerheart, they're going to have a fully customizable card creator system that you can access and create all your spell cards exactly as you want and print them off. And so, chef's kiss, absolutely love that. But yes, it is something that is so entirely cool. And again, looking at the core rules, they lay it out very well in how to customize it without being too complicated. So, you can choose, kind of like the spell techniques, right? So you can choose if you want it as an aura or as a bolt or a cone or a line, if you want it to apply to yourself or to others or as a sphere, or as a trap. I mean, there are so many options that it's just, um, it might seem overwhelming at first. However, it's something that, you craft your spells as you play, and then they stick with you. So absolutely, I can't say enough about that. And again, you can definitely check that out on the Backerkit page as well. Now, moving on to the A in our P.E.A.K system, which is atmosphere, which describes the tone and themes of Drakonym. And so the world of Akaroth is rich with lore and layered with mystery. There are 13 planes that bleed together, um, that you know can be woven into the narrative in such a cool way. Magic surges unpredictably. There are The world is shaped by mythic forces, right? The Light Mother and the Night Father, ancient dragonkind, and political intrigue. You'll explore ruins. You will awaken dragons, and navigate a realm where wonder and danger are so tightly entwined. Uh, the tone of Draconym, think about it as fantasy meets emotional storytelling. It's got the scale of Eberron or Numenora, but with the intimacy of Monster Hearts or other games. It's a game that wants you to feel something. So, like I said, it's got that emotional element. I think you can definitely make it as serious or silly as you like, but I think that it blends well the cinematic narrative nature of a kind of high fantasy setting. So I think that if you enjoy RPG systems with that kind of atmosphere, make sure you're checking it out. Uh, Now let's look at those key features, and this is kind of going to recap some of the mechanics, but also talk about, um, not only what not only those mechanics, but also things that are going to be coming in for those who decide to purchase this or back it in the Backerkit campaign. So let's shift gears and talk about what makes Drakonym truly different. Because this isn't just another fantasy TTRPG with dragons slapped on top. These are, innovations that change how you play with dragons. Dragons are emotional co-protagonists. In most games, dragons are the boss, their mounts, or loot pinatas. In Drakonym, they are characters with personalities, emotional cores, and growth arcs. You choose a dragon heart to go along with your dragon, like a guardian or seeker or spark that defines their temperament and their role in your story. Your bond with them evolves through shared moments, tracked mechanically. And yes, they grow in size and power as your relationship deepens. But it's like having a second PC with their own arc. Mechanics serve the story first in Drakonym. It's a system built to elevate narrative, not bog it down. Character progression is story-driven. Your background is tracked through a tree progression system based on your choices and achievements, not just XP gained. It's a system that rewards roleplay and emotional investment. Also, spell crafting that is actually creative. Forget the spell list. You build spells from those 6 magical aspects and then layer on those exciting effects, twists, and techniques. You want your fireball to whisper secrets as it explodes? That's a valid twist. It's modular and expressive and designed for players who want their magic to feel personal. The vocation system, which means, your class as well as your path and background. So you start with that core class, fighter, mage, acolyte, or veil, and then you pair it with one of those 20 paths like berserker or sage or assassin. These combos give you mechanical identity and flavor without drowning you in rules. Those background trees unlock social perks that evolve with your story. Again, leading back to the narrative, it's like having a narrative skill tree that grows with your character during their journey. And then the last thing I want to touch on is that Drakonym is built for every type of table. Whether you're running the classic GM-led campaign with 2 to 5 players, or whether you want to play solo by yourself, Drakonym has the rules to play without a GM, without a herald. CrossPass does an excellent job of allowing individuals to play with the appropriate tools without having to be in a group setting, because so often that's hard to come by. Or diving into a GM-less collaborative game. Who needs a GM, even if you have a party? Everyone can participate. Everyone can be a player with their dragon companion, and they can use the system to guide them through their campaign. The Oracle system is basically that system. It sets up encounter tables to guide solo or shared play. And the narrative mode is going to streamline the mechanics for that story-first progression. It's one of the few systems that really supports a solo play without feeling like a watered-down version of a full game. So, those are some of the key features that Drakonym really brings to the table. That said, I do want to list off some exciting features coming in the full product when it releases. And so let's look at the Backerkit for just a moment, shall we? Again, when this episode releases, there should still be a day left to go and back Drakonym. So go and check it out. Definitely, support these amazing creators at CrossPaths. But some of the features, this is going to be a 270 plus page core rulebook with all the player facing systems. There's 6 dragon families with traits and evolution paths. There are the full dragon bonding mechanics. There's the character creation, combat, and spell casting rules and spell creation rules, the solo rulebook, the starter adventure. There's also pre-generated characters and spell cards as well. And again, just whether you're running a classic game, solo game, or trying it without a GM, Drakonym is adaptable to your table. And that's a huge win. Once again, Drakonym is... I'm so excited for it. Again, I have always loved the concept of a dragon friendship, if you will. And this is going to give you that experience. There's so much to learn, so much to check out. Follow the link in the description, and like I said, go support these amazing creators. While there is a great team behind it, this was something that was absolutely envisioned by a sole creator in the lead designer, A.R. Swain. And so shout out to A.R. Swain. I'm pumped to dive into the world of Azeroth and Drakonym. And so looking forward to the completion of the campaign and getting my hands on the full version. Now, thank you all for hanging out and taking this inside peek at Drakonym, a dragon bonding TTRPG from Crossed Paths. And I hope that you will make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, or give us a comment and a review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us. Don't forget, we are part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. So check out the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@the-RPG-rundown-LTN. Or you can follow the link and check out everything that Love Thy Nerd has to offer. They are a podcast network dedicated to loving and serving our nerdy neighbors, with shows and videos ranging across everything in nerd culture, from board games to wrestling to comics to video games. You name it, they've got it. So, again, thank you for joining me. Next time, Jeff and I shall return for our normal scheduled episode. But from our table to yours, thank you for joining us on the RPG Rundown. And until next time, may your rolls be epic and your stories legendary.